Hello, brothers and sisters. Thanks for joining me again. Today, I want to revisit the Minnesota school shooting, which was tragic. I already did a story about this where really I called out that the real issue is we need better mental health resources, and I definitely still believe that. But there have been a lot of people calling for additional gun control, which is normal. That's right out of the normal Democrat slash liberal playbook. Is every time there's a tragic shooting, the only answer is more gun control. Is the only one that I ever see, and I don't agree with that. But let's see what this article has to say. Let's see if they've got, a good point here today. So I found this article in CNN Politics. It says it's a 5-minute read, updated August 27th. Today is August 30th, so about 3 days ago. It's had about 3 days for this one to marinate. I haven't read it, so let's see what it says. It's by Arit John and Arlette Senez. Okay. All right, so picture outside of the school. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey sits on the steps of the school as police responds to a reported mass shooting on Wednesday. Yeah. Okay. How do I get rid of this top piece? Good. It went away. All right. So Minneapolis. Jacob Frey clasped his hands together as he sat on the steps of the Catholic Church, where hours earlier a shooter opened fire on young children gathered in the pews inside. Don't say this is about your thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. The Minneapolis mayor said at a press conference on the scene on Wednesday, they should be able to go to school or church in peace without fear of risk and violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. I agree with most of this, but I think I would give my thoughts and prayers for the families of the victims. I do plan to pray for them in church on Sunday. Evil is everywhere, yeah, and evil likes to shoot up churches. Obviously, there seems to have been a lot of that in the last couple of years. So I disagree with the beginning of his sentiment. I don't think because there's evil in the world we should stop praying. Praying is always an option. Now we need to do other things too. But a lot of Democrats have been saying that seems to be a Democratic talking point that they're angry about thoughts and prayers. No, that's kind of what the devil wants. He wants you to stop praying. These are the sort of basic assurance that every family should have every step of the day, regardless of where they are in the country. Yeah, I agree. Kids should be free from violence in schools. 100% agree. Frey's plea was echoed by several Democratic leaders in Minnesota who renewed calls to address gun violence in the wake of shootings at the Annunciation Catholic School. They argued the horrific scene, a shooter opening fire through a stained glass window as students celebrated their first week of school with worship, should prompt people to demand action. Yeah, this is actually a key point here. Luckily, the school was following some level of security precautions, and it's been reported that all of the doors into the church were locked after the mass started. And so the shooter could not actually get in, or I'm sure it would have been much, much, much worse, because I think it said something like he shot somewhere on the order of 120 bullets. He did kill 2 of the children and wounded, I believe the count was 14. Is that what they said? So it's just awful, but it could have been so much worse if they hadn't locked the doors. So thank goodness, their security procedures at the school, had them locking doors. It's my strongest desire that no state, no community, no school ever experiences this, said Governor Tim Walz. Keep us in your thoughts and prayers, but also keep us in your thoughts for action. Keep us in the ideas that we can work together. Okay, so this is a better statement. I think Walz made a good statement here. Now it's just like, what action are you going to take? But I agree. It's really all about what actions are you going to take. Thoughts and prayers are not enough. People need to do things for themselves. Rep. Ilhan Omar of Minneapolis accused elected leaders of being more concerned with appeasing the gun lobby than keeping their children safe. No, I don't agree with that. And Senator Amy Klobuchar told CNN's Dana Bash, if a bunch of kids praying in church and shot down through the windows of that church and locked into that by a madman isn't enough to make people move, I just don't know what is anymore. Yeah, so that was the other thing. They said that he actually went around to like the side doors and put 2x4s locking the doors and some smoke canisters. And then he tried to go enter by the main entrance and then discovered that it was locked. Thank goodness. But their calls for greater action may soon meet the political reality. In the immediate aftermath of Wednesday's shooting, Republican leaders in Congress have shown no signs of opening a push for new gun measures next week when lawmakers return from their August recess. Our prayers are with the victims, their families, first responders on the scene, Minnesota Rep. Tom Emmer, who serves as the majority whip in the U.S. House, wrote on X. House Speaker Mike Johnson said the country was heartbroken over the tragic violence, adding, "Our prayers are with the children, families, civilians, law enforcement, and all those impacted by this evil attack." Congress last passed gun safety legislation in 22 following the massacre at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. The bipartisan gun safety law, which surged millions of dollars to mental health and school safety programs and changed the process of when individuals age 18 to 21 can go to purchase a firearm, was the first meaningful gun measure enacted in decades. And I actually think that the first part of this was good. I actually think that the more dollars for mental health and school safety programs is definitely a plus. The changing the rules for 18 to 21 year olds, it was meaningless. It did nothing. All that did was make law-abiding people have a harder time getting guns. Because, here's the reality. There are more guns than people, I think, in America. And because of the right to bear arms Second Amendment, that's not going to change anytime soon. There is not the political will with the majority of Americans to do a complete gun ban. And when we look at school safety, I think that's what you got to do. So because you can't get rid of the guns, you need to not put your head in the sand and sweep it under the rug and have more security in the churches and schools. My local church always has one armed police officer every Mass. And it also has parishioners that are armed, that are concealed carry license holders in Texas, when I live in Texas. That is the sensible way to do it. We need to be putting money into school and church security. The local school near me has a police officer every morning, directs traffic, and then after he's done directing traffic, he goes into the school and he spends the entire day in the school, a local police officer, and his police car is sitting outside. This is how you dissuade madmen with guns from shooting places up. And I do say this guy was a madman. Anyone who would shoot children, anyone who would go into a school or a church and shoot is a madman. And they need mental health care. So that's the other part. We do need to identify people with serious mental health issues, and then we need to stop them from getting guns. I am okay with that. If somebody has mental issues, they should not have a gun. Now it's a slippery slope because how do you decide what those mental issues are? Because if you get in a really anti-gun city, they're gonna push that to the max and pretty much say everyone's crazy and can't have guns. That's the slippery slope. That's the problem. But I am for more security. And famously, or I don't know if it's famously, but in Minneapolis and in Minnesota in general, they did put more money into securing public schools. And there's a story out there that the Catholic bishops and other independent schools asked for some of that money in order to help secure their schools from stuff like that. But the governor, Tim Walz, in his wisdom, decided not to give religious and independent schools any of that money. It only went to public. So I think the government in Minnesota owns some of this problem. You can't blame it all on like the Trump administration, like I have seen some people try to do. You also have to look at why did the authorities in Minnesota not identify this man with mental illness and get him the treatment he needed? And if they had done that, this may not have happened. And I'm positive the warning signs were out there. This is a man that was in crisis for years. This didn't just appear overnight. And so again, I say we need more security in schools. Stop putting our heads in the sand, and we need to work on better mental health resources. While the investigation into the shooting remains underway, law enforcement officials said the 23-year-old shooter legally purchased the weapons used in the attack, which include rifle, shotgun, and pistol. The shooter killed 2 children, ages 8 and 10, 14 students, all between the ages of 6 and 15, and 3 adults were injured. So it's just awful. Klobuchar said lawmakers could do more to strengthen background checks and address assault weapons, but we also acknowledge the legislative push would require additional buy-in. I wouldn't be completely opposed to the background check, looking at how that was, but my worry there is normally the laws that they introduce would normally have nothing to do with fixing the problem. So if the background check being tightened up was related to mental health issues and such, I might be okay with that. The assault weapons is immaterial. The reason I say that is more people are actually killed by handguns. So even though people like to talk about the scary black rifle, it isn't the real problem. Yes, one rifle is more dangerous than one handgun and can do more damage, but the percentages of people that are actually killed and injured by handguns far, far surpasses the number killed by these quote unquote assault rifles. And so if you really want to fix problems, target handguns. But again, there's no legislative will for that. But you can get emotional and wind people up about, hey, we can ban these assault rifles. And I think it's a boil the frog kind of thing. If we can get the assault weapons banned, then we can do the handguns later. We just do it a piece at a time. The House last voted to ban assault-style weapons in 2022 when the chamber was controlled by Democrats, even though the bill would not clear a Republican filibuster in the Senate. There's one thing we can do to make this better and stop the angry rhetoric. Start working on solutions that we know have worked in other countries or could work here. It's not one size fits all, Klobuchar said, but we've got to be willing to do it, and especially my colleagues who've been afraid to do it. See, I don't agree that it works in other countries. Bad people still find ways to hurt each other or to hurt people. In England, they banned guns back in the 90s, and what happened? Knife crime became a big thing, and everyone started stabbing each other when they wanted to do crime. Then what did they do? They banned knives. And then what? So now people are hitting people with pipes and things. So people that want to do people a harm are going to find ways to do it, or they're just going to break the law and carry a knife anyway. And that's the thing about America. Like, all these gun laws don't work because criminals, by definition, are criminals. They're not going to obey it. In Minnesota, or actually most of America, I believe, schools are gun-free zones. It's a criminal offense to take a gun into a school without the school's permission. There are some places where it's legal, but with the school's permission or the church's permission. So they're already gun-free zones. And so what happens is the criminals, the crazy people, go seek out the gun-free zones. They know there's less people there shooting back. And this guy used to attend this church and school. I think it said his mother had been a secretary at the school, and so he knew kind of how it worked. So anyway, I just say all new gun regulations are putting your head in the sand, unless you could do mass gun confiscation across the entire nation, like they've done in Australia or they've done in the UK. But then you just have other things. Now in Australia, they're banning machetes because bad people are using machetes. It just criminalizes regular people, law-abiding people who want their guns for lawful purposes. And one of those lawful purposes is self-defense. And I do feel strongly everyone has a right to self-defense. Look at what's been going on in Scotland. They're talking about this girl that I don't know what her real name is, but they're calling her Sophie of Dundee, who, it's going viral on the internet, that she had to protect herself against migrants. And so she had a hatchet and a little knife. Well, not a little knife. It was a large kitchen knife. And she basically, menaced some people in Scotland. And we don't know the whole story there, but why? It's a good question. Why did she feel unsafe enough to have to do that? Now it could come out that she's just a lunatic little girl, but I don't know. We don't have enough information on that one yet. But it does appear that she was in fear of her safety from someone, and decided to arm herself. And so that's what happens when people can't protect themselves legally. They'll just protect themselves illegally. It's going to happen. 2 months earlier, former state rep Melissa Hortman was assassinated at her home along with her husband, State Senator Jeff Hoffman, and his wife were targeted in a shooting that same night but survived. The acts of political violence sent shockwaves through Minnesota and its political community. Walz had eulogized Hortman at her funeral and served as a pallbearer. It seemed to reference the June shooting when he spoke at a press conference in Minneapolis. There's a lot of cameras here, and unfortunately, we've been through these types of things. He said they will be gone some point, but what happened here today will not be gone. Minnesotans will not step away, will stand with this community. The Hortman's family said on Wednesday the Catholic school shooting was a senseless act of violence and called on elected officials for common sense measures. Mark and Melissa believed that children should be able to gather in schools, safety in communities, should be able to worship in peace, and that families should be safe in their homes. The family said in a statement, "We hope this tragedy spurs elected officials to take action toward common sense measures on access to high-powered weapons that no one else must suffer." The June attacks were top of mind for Democrats this week when the National Party gathered in Minneapolis for its summer meeting. During the meeting's opening session, Walz, Klobuchar, DNC Chair Ken Martin, and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison all reflected on Hortman's legacy. "We've not moved forward from it," Walz told Democrats Monday. "We are forever changed by it, but we are a hardy people, and we've seen these things happen, but I think the thing I'm most proud of is that legacy that Melissa Hortman leaves was one about improving lives." Shortly after Frey addressed the DNC committee Wednesday morning, Martin announced that the shooting had occurred and urged anyone with medical training if they can help. Yeah, that thing that happened a few months ago with the Hortmans was crazy. If I remember right, it was an acquaintance. It was someone who had at one point been in a commission and appointed by the governor, Tim Walz, to this commission. And so he was running in political circles, obviously a Democrat at some point, because Walz had appointed him. I don't know if he still was a Democrat at the time. And he shot and killed this couple, where one of them was a state legislator. And I don't know. I haven't really followed that story, so I don't know why he did it. But again, it's just crazy people, or maybe he had some other motive. But again, I'll go down saying definitely if you're shooting up a school or a church, you're just crazy. If you're killing kids in a church, in a school, you're just crazy. This is a tragic day for our city and a tragic day for Minnesotans on the heel of a tragic year. We've already lost our friends Melissa and Mark Hortman. It's unacceptable. It's just too far, too commonplace. Folks, we need your prayers, we need your faith, we need your leadership to stop this evil. After a short prayer, the committee voted to unanimously approve reports from all committees and adjourn early. This article wasn't bad. I do agree with parts of it. I do agree we need better mental health. That was mentioned in the article. That wasn't a focus. We need better school security. That was mentioned, but not the focus. And the focus was more gun control. No, I don't think we need more gun control. But again, I would be in favor of reviewing background check policies. And if there was a way that truly could have tightened them up to have stopped this, because it did say he bought the gun legally, I'd be all for it. But what I really want to look at is, I believe this person was in mental crisis for years. Why was he not identified as being in mental crisis? And why did he not get the treatment that he deserved? And I'm not going to go into it because I don't really believe this is the reason he did it, but it's being reported all over the internet that he was trans. And I don't think him being trans has anything to do with this, but there is a connection where Minnesota is a trans sanctuary state. Tim Walz signed that. So did trans sanctuary policies stop him from being reported as mentally ill because he was trans and people didn't want to report his mental illness? I don't know. And so I would want to look into that. Did they just discount his mental illness as just being normal trans. That's my real focus. Why could they not identify and report him and put him on red flag lists? Because I think they have red flag laws in Minnesota. Why were those red flag laws not enacted? And if it had something to do with the trans sanctuary, then we need to stop that, because if someone's trans, they could also be insane. If someone is trans, they could also still be a criminal. Two or three things can be true at the same time. We can't just take all trans people and just let them do anything they want. They need to be held to the same standards as everyone else. And again, I'm not saying him being trans was why he did this, though a lot of people are. That's not my focus here. My focus is we need to identify and treat mental illness. All right, that's what I got. Like it or not, subscribe or not. And if you really don't like me, don't watch me. And let me know if I got something wrong. It's possible that I didn't understand. I don't live in Minnesota, so it's possible I'm completely wrong on this. But I don't think I am. Thanks. Bye.